With Company of Heroes developer Relic introduced a different kind of real-time strategy game that emphasized units instead of soldiers and retreats, reinforcements, and cover. Company of Heroes 2 appears poised to add meaningful new elements to the series with a vicious Russian winter, but the sun comes out too soon for those changes to take hold. Company of Heroes 2 is set on the Eastern Front of World War II as a commander-turned-reporter recounts his experiences fighting the Germans and the Soviet command structure. From a basic mechanical level, Company of Heroes 2 is about less is more. It's not about mass production of single soldiers, and units are composed of groups of soldiers with specific skills. Play revolves around unit placement and positioning fields of fire, and which direction units are facing is just as important as where they're placed. In Company of Heroes 2, the environment is just as important. Infantry units depend on cover for protection, and Company of Heroes 2 adds occluded fields of view to the game, where lines of sight are realistically blocked by the environment. But this emphasis on the environment is even more apparent in the icy potential death of the Russian winter. The middle third of Company of Heroes 2's campaign is practically defined by the Russian winter, and that teases major gameplay implications. Infantry are vulnerable to death by exposure during blizzards, and this forces you to find warmth via buildings or vehicles, or to build fires using your troops. There are moments in Company of Heroes 2's campaign that make deliberate use of these mechanics, but as quickly as Company of Heroes 2 introduces major gameplay systems, they feel forgotten in the next mission. The additions that Relic makes to Company of Heroes 2's basic mechanics are present in some multiplayer maps, but their impact feels limited. In multiplayer, capturing and holding resource points yields munitions, fuel, and manpower, which are used to build your army and call in specific abilities. It's possible to win a match in Company of Heroes 2 multiplayer via destruction of your opponent's base, but it primarily hinges on objective-based play, which leads to matches where the advantage can swing between both sides pretty wildly, and this leads to matches that stay interesting even when you end up losing. The problem is that it's all completely impenetrable if your only source of in-game education is Company of Heroes 2. Company of Heroes 2 does nothing to teach a viable means of success in multiplayer, particularly regarding the order in which you need to build things. You can make tactical mistakes in Company of Heroes 2 multiplayer and still succeed, but if you build just a couple of units in the wrong order, you're probably screwed. After something approaching 20 hours of campaign play in Company of Heroes 2 that at least resembled multiplayer, I felt like I had as much to unlearn about the game as I did to learn about the way multiplayer works. Company of Heroes 2 is a good game, and there's a great, unique multiplayer experience there. But the most frustrating things about Company of Heroes 2 is how disinterested it appears to be in showing players exactly what it does best.